All right, welcome in New Perspective, a channel for all of you who would like to be experiencing a change in your own relationship with God and other people. It's our pleasure to introduce to you today our guest speakers, Nathan and Emma.
Come on.
Nice.
Hey guys.
Hey.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. Yeah, just
We're in
Man.
quarantine at this moment, but we're
Okay.
feeling good. So
yeah.
yeah.
Right on. Right
Yeah.
on. Right on. Well, yeah, welcome guys. Welcome to our channel. Welcome. We're honored to have you guys here as our guest speakers to share your testimonies and perspective, and especially your journey in Christ Jesus and where the Lord has taken you guys in the midst of all the things that's been happening all over the world, you know?
Yeah.
So just wanted to welcome you guys.
Thank you. Look forward to
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
So,
So I just want.
could
Yes, babe. You were going to say something?
no, go for
I was
it.
actually just gonna share a little bit about Nathan and Emma here. I met Nathan 2 years ago, right, in
Yeah.
Reading.
Yeah, it was almost exactly 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. You went there for a visit. He stayed with us for I think a day or two, and then Nathan and I just connected.
Mhm.
We chat about the journey, pursuing what God wants him to do, and pursuing the heart of the Father in many ways, in many forms, and especially in different countries, you know. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, can you please vote, if it's okay, do you
Yeah.
mind if you could tell us more about that journey?
Yes. Yeah, we would love to. So and the journey, to be clear about us going to where we're going to the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So first I'll tell my part, and then and it kind of intertwines at one point to Emelina's part. And so
Right.
when it gets to the part where it intertwines, I'll stop, and then Emma will tell her part.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
So about it's been almost 10 years ago that I went to Australia with just on I was like 18, and I wanted to kind of get out of the States and like seek the Lord for myself. So I went to with an organization called YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And this is a place where just a lot of like people who want to discover who they are, who God is, and get to travel at the same time. So it was great. During that time, I came across a worker and a teacher, a preacher guy who was talking about the Middle East,
Come on.
and he was speaking about missions around the world, and he was talking about the Middle East this one day, and I'll never forget what he said. So one day he said he was watching a documentary of people in the Middle East who came to know Jesus through dreams and visions, which is happening quite often even now.
Oh wow.
So he got up and started praising Jesus because of the miraculous works that he's doing in the Middle East. And then Jesus appeared to him in some way, I don't know which way, and Jesus said to him, "The reason I'm going is because those who I've called have not gone." And that instantly like convicted me, because, well, actually I don't know why, because Jesus never called me there, so there's no reason for it to convict me. But what it did is actually kind of made me a little bit stirred up inside, and so I was like, God, if nobody's going, then I'll be that replacement, like, or I'll go. I didn't really know what I was asking though. I didn't really know what I was saying to God. And so, after I came back from YWAM, I went back to where I'm from in California, and went through college, and it was about 7 years since that time. And in between the time that I was in DHS in Brisbane until the time when I went over again to the Middle East, it was about 7 year period. And during that time, I had never really did that much with Arabic people or Islam. I read a couple books which really inspired me. And there was some times where I really prayed. In fact, sometimes I would pray in the spirit, like in tongues. And then I would go like, whenever I'd pray about the Middle East, it was almost like the Holy Spirit would come over me more powerfully than when I prayed about another country. And then sometimes I would go into 2 or 3 different languages, which I don't know what I was saying, but I knew Jesus was showing me different things over about what's happening in the East. And there's also times where I would cry, and I wouldn't really know why, but I'd weep for people who I didn't even know, and I could just really tell that God wanted to do something over there. And I was a part of a Christian organization on the college I went to, and they had mission trip opportunities. And so 2 years in a row, they had the mission opportunity to go on a 2-week mission trip to the Middle East. So of course I signed up. I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, see if this is really what God's calling me to. And both those times, those mission trips got canceled. And so those years I went to other countries, other places, and always with this like, if God was calling me here, why wouldn't he just open up the door, And then
I love what you just shared, man, because if I can just interrupt you for a second, because it's truly reminded me a story of Isaiah, who said, here I am, Lord, send me. And as you are just sharing, I'm just thinking about different stories of different biblical people. Like sometimes Jesus came to them and asked them and called them somewhere to do something, but there were people like Isaiah who was burning and loving God, and that outflow of love looked like, God, I offer myself as a sacrifice. I offer myself to you for whatever you would like to do. So I just want to honor you for that. And that I can see that. And it just reminded me when Jesus said, you haven't chosen me, I chose you. And it's so many times when we respond to Jesus's call, Jesus calling, it's our heart just responding to that inner voice, or to the work of the Spirit working inside of us. So that's so beautiful. But keep going, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's a good connection. I didn't realize that until later on, But anyways, so the story does get more interesting because the human heart is such a complicated thing. And on one hand, I wanted to go to the Middle East, but on the other hand, I didn't. And so at the end of my graduation at college, this was after the 2 times I tried going to the Middle East before. And I prayed later why God closed the door. And he was like, you need to be prepared more. And then, so I knew that he was preparing me to go. But in my mind, I had made a 30-year plan of my life, and going to get into a career right after college. Actually, no, I was going to do music. So and it's funny because every word of prophecy that was prophesied over me, except for 2 people, was about music ministry in America.
Right. Crazy.
And I don't think that is necessarily false prophecy, because I'm still 27, so who knows? But I'm saying that right after college, my plan was to go into music and to start recording, start playing music, be in a band that travels around America and does ministry, and then maybe get into my plant science career at some point. But that's always been an extra thing to my passion. And so as you know, I even had like an EP recorded. I had this, me and this other guy had made plans to like be in a band, and like it was like we were looking forward to it. Right at the end of my graduation, I went with my college group to a conference, yeah, missions conference. There at the missions conference, I already knew like, okay, I already know where I'm going. I don't know when, but I just know I'm going to the Middle East. At this conference, they had they had missionaries represented from countries all around the world, and they had booths. So I went to the booth of the Middle East missionaries, and all the missionaries were talking to other people. So I go up to the table, and I see this book, and I just open up the book, and there's just a picture of this mosque in a random place. And then instantly, when I opened that book, this fire just came over me, and my eyes became like like water hoses. They just started pouring out. I couldn't control and my whole back was sweating, and the fire of the Holy Spirit was like upon me, where I could barely walk, and I walked like slowly to a corner where nobody else was. And the Lord, I just kept weeping and weeping, and the Lord was like, "Go now." And I didn't even know where he's talking about, but all I knew is, you know, in the Bible where it says where the children of Israel were led by the cloud and the fire. So obviously, this organization was like, this was going to be an open door. It wasn't like the organization was the God, but it was just through this organization was a door to go. And then God confirmed it through Isaiah 29. But then the day after, my heart turned cold. I was like, no, like I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. Even after like a clear like fire of God came upon me, but still it was like, no, I don't want to go. When I said that, I remember I started getting sick. I started getting physically sick. I don't know if this is theologically possible, but I felt the Spirit of God come out of, like, lift out of me, be separate from me, from my body for a couple of days. And it felt like I was a slug in the middle of summer on a dry cement. Like it felt like and I remember during that conference, I was walking by myself back to my room, and the Lord said to me, "Why are you running?" And the whole trip back from Texas to California was like horrible. You know, it was seriously like if the Lord had this physical hand, and it was like pressing me down. It was pressing me down like as hard as possible until I would stop resisting. He would not relent until I relented, you know. And and I seriously got a cough, a cold. I was sick physically, but also I really just resisting God. And when I got home, I was just on the floor. And at one point through the midst of that, I was just like, yes, I'll go. And then I'm not kidding, right when I said that, this peace flooded my heart, and I started becoming better physically. I started healing my body. And it's funny, after that, so I then applied with this organization. That's a kind of a long story. But I applied for this organization in May of like 2017. And there was going to be a 3 or 4 month process until they accepted me to go to Middle East, because it has to be very secure. You have to do all this background check, everything. And I was at work, and I got I looked at my phone, and I saw a message pop up that said, you're accepted. And instantly my heart sunk again. I'm like, dang it. I was like hoping that maybe they'd be like, sorry dude, you're unaccepted. California, you have on hair, like you're better off surfing or something. you know.
I was hoping for some denials, not
Yeah.
approval.
Yeah, yeah. And then, dude, I was at that time like living at a warehouse with a spiritual father of mine, and we went to this African American church. It was my first time, and
Yeah.
the glory of the Father was just so like this church was just full of the Holy Spirit. But I didn't expect what was going to happen next. And so this was a couple days after I got this email, and I was at the church, and they offered a prayer for anybody who wants prayer over anything in general. It doesn't have to be
If
one
I
thing.
may ask, how many years ago was this?
This was
2017.
2018.
wait, no,
And
18.
have you
It was 17. This is the end of 17.
2017? And have you
Yeah.
already know each other, guys?
No.
Yeah.
Back then we didn't know each other
No,
yet.
sorry, it's
Yeah.
going to my stories. We will get there.
Okay.
I
Somewhere
like
we get there.
maybe taking a little too long, but it's a long kind of process. But anyways, like the Lord, I came to the front of the church and I was like, Lord, if you still want me to go, you're gonna have to change my heart, because at this point I don't want to go anymore. And 2 seconds later, I felt the touch of this pastor's hand on me. Like I don't know where it came from. He's just like his hand touched me, and I flew back a couple feet. And in the spirit, I saw above me this huge, massive angel. And I don't really see angels that often. Like I don't think I've ever seen an angel. But I saw him this time, and he was not messing around. He was standing on top of me with a sword pierced down into my heart. And I could not move. I'm not moving. He said, repent for letting your heart grow cold about going to the Middle East. So right there on the floor, I just repented. And I'm like, okay, like I felt the fear and the mercy of God, like his fatherliness, you know. And I was like, okay, at that point, I have no shadow of a doubt that I'm to go. And even though I don't want to, I don't have this love for the Arabic people. All I know is I have the fear of the Lord. So if anything, I'm going strictly because I'm afraid of the Lord. And it was a hope that if I don't go, woe upon me. You know, the blood of anybody's blood will be on my hands, and I don't want that to happen. And so, so a year later, after support raising and getting everything prepared, I go over with that organization and hit the ground of the Middle East. And that was when a whole new chapter of my life started. And I just felt the most incredible peace and love and joy that I've ever known in my life, like just throughout my time there. And it's funny because the love that was not in my heart for the Arabic people, it granted to me until I stepped foot onto the ground. And then at that point, the Lord gave me his heart and his love for the Arabic people. And there's 8 months of me just not seeing any fruit, but just praying and weeping for these people, you know, just like laying, like interceding for the region, and just being mainly in my room in the Middle East, just praying and seeking the Lord and growing in my faith. And at some point after 8 months, the Lord started kind of opening doors for me. And I got to meet these Muslim background believers. And they were new believers, and they had also come to know Jesus in a miraculous way. And Jesus appeared to him in dreams and visions, and also at a time in which he was poor and his whole family didn't have anything to eat, and he was searching for another God, because Allah wasn't doing it. God led him to the Bible and to different stories about the oil, and so God said, like, hey, you're going to make the oil of Elisha, the widow's oil. And so this guy, God multiplied oil for this guy, and it started feeding his family, and he started using it, the money he got, to feed his family, and it started healing people. And so this guy is the one who was asking me to go pray for him, even though I was the one who was like, you should be praying for me. Well, but when I went over there to pray for him, we were in this prayer meeting, and another guy from India was there. And at some point, we all started praying for this guy in India. The Lord just hits him with freedom, and he starts trembling and coming out, and it gets delivered from an evil spirit. And that night, Jesus appears to him in a vision, saying, "You need to get baptized in water tomorrow." And so then they call me up, like, "Hey, can you baptize this guy in water tomorrow?" So we went and had a secret service in the Arabian Sea, like baptism of this guy. And the Lord promised me that as he anoints and as he pours out his spirit upon the Arabians, he's going to pour out his spirit upon the Indians there too. And so anyways, during that time, crazy, because once I came to, before I went to Oman, I visited some friends of ours, some mutual friends, Johnny and Rebecca, in Germany. And they encouraged me to pray for a wife.
Yeah,
So
we know Johnny and Becca.
You know,
Pretty
Johnny and
awesome couple. Yes, we do. Yes, we
Oh,
do.
yeah. Really
Yeah.
powerful people.
Very powerful people.
They encouraged me to start having faith for a wife. And the way the Lord works with me is through the stars and everything. And so what the Lord showed me was that a season was opening up in which 4 stars were in alignment. I know whatever theology you have, I don't know, but that he was opening up a door in which anything I was to proclaim was going to happen. And so I proclaimed many, many things over what I wanted in my life. And one of the biggest things was that, and this was crazy because for one day I had this gift of faith, or like really 1 hour. And the Lord, I used this opportunity, this open window, to describe every detail of what I wanted in a wife, you know, from the hair color to like personality and drive and passions and all that. And then after that hour or so closed, days later, you know, I forgot about it. I'm like, okay, lost the faith, and like, you know, anything. But I knew that God heard it. And 4 months later, the woman that I prayed for, I opened up the door at my team's house and I saw that woman. And I would knew that it was beyond, that shows how little the faith was, that faith really is a gift that sometimes, you know, because I didn't have it. This is way too good to be true. Probably not God. It's probably the devil. He's probably trying to tempt me, you know. He's probably trying to, you know, steer me off course or something. Like God can't be that good. And anyways, that girl was the girl sitting next to me. And through a long process of inner soul working and religious beliefs about God's not being good and stuff, he led me to actually believe that he is good. And that's where our story kind of converges.
I know. There the lines come together.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing, guys. Thank you. And you know, when I was just listening to your story there, Nate, about your struggle of trying to be obedient to what the Lord has highlighted you to do, it reminded me of, like you said, it's when the Israelites were guided by the cloud and the fire going into the promised land, but yet in the midst there was still a little bit of resentment towards God. They didn't want to go. They still looked back and consider Egypt. Although the manifestation of God's glory is ahead and even before them. You know?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy because you're like, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt it's God, but yet your heart, it's still, you don't want to do it.
Right.
No matter how many signs are happening, really is irrelevant to the condition of the heart, you know. So.
And I think it's okay. It's just that place of dealing it with the Father. I think it's very important to have that relationship with God.
Yes. Because that showed me that he actually truly loved me, that he didn't relent even when my heart was hard, and he could have been like, I'll just find somebody else. But that shows how much loves me, and
Come on.
but she actually chooses to chastise me. You know.
Come on. Come on.
So,
That's a good word. And I think
yeah.
Barbara's got a question for Emma. If you,
Yeah.
Barbara, because she was intrigued of how you guys met. So I'm gonna let Barbara.
So, how was it for you, Emma? Like when this young man of God came into your life, like what was your maybe backstory?
Well, yeah, so I'm from the Netherlands and Nate's from America. And I kind of got to the Middle East through just my own interest. Well, through God, of course, but I thought it was my own interest. I thought I'm just interested in Arabs and I'm interested in the culture. So let's go to the Middle East for some time to learn Arabic. And I wanted to go with a missionary organization so that I could also serve towards people. And so I had found an organization that could get me to the Middle East. And and like I was not like, of course, my friends were joking about it because I was always I want to live in other countries and I don't want to stay in the Netherlands and I want to see the world and everything. And so my friends were always like joking about like, okay, when you're gonna travel, you'll meet your husband there, you know. And I was like, yeah, okay. But I really always already knew that if I was to get married, then I would really want to be married with someone, you know, who also had big ideals for God. You know, he wanted just to have a big passion for God and just wanted to go for that. So, so I was like, you know, I just really just want to travel and really want to do the things of the Lord, you know, and if there's someone who also wants to do it and I can do it together with and we lift each other up, then that would be nice. But otherwise, Lord, I prefer just to do it by myself, just to be by myself, you know. So then I got to the Middle East and after I think 2 weeks after I was there, I met Nate for the first time. And then in the beginning, there was a kind of like we had eye connection. We were like, oh, okay. But I didn't know anything about him because, you know, we were just new in the team and he didn't introduce himself to me right away. So I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know. Like he's probably very disinterested. So, but then as the time went by, I found out that he was from America, that he was single, that he was there also only for short term. Well, I was there for half a year, he was there for a year. And and then soon I found out I think he likes me. And then I was like, you know, that's okay, that's fine. And that was new for me because usually I always was like, when someone liked me, I was like, I want to run away, you know. But this time I accepted it. And but we didn't really talk or so. But then after a couple months, like we got into a conversation together, and then we like also kind of said to each other like, hey, there's something going on here and we should find out what that is, you know, because well, and then we were talking with our leaders of our team about whether that was okay if we like did that, and it was not okay for us to meet in public setting because you know, that's not done, you know, for a man and a woman to be together in public. So they said like, okay, you know, you can just come to our house and we have a room in our house where you can just sit privately and just talk however long you want. So that's what we did for a long time, and for many nights we were talking, getting to know each other, and we found out we were really different in many things. Also, like in our approach to God, I was really still a lot in approach of like, I'm here to do work for God, you know. And Nate was way different in that. He really, like, his testimony already kind of showed he really had like God in him, you know. He was really there, like being Jesus towards these people. And for me, that was still very different. But so in the beginning, it almost was kind of a no-go for us, that we were like, this is not gonna work, you know, because we're too different. But I also like, as I met Nate more and got to know Nate more, I also got to know some other friends who were more also like Nate, you know, who were also more spirit-filled people. And then I actually got very curious about it, and I was like, but this is actually way cooler, you know, like you guys can pray for an hour for one subject. I can do that, but that's cool. I want to do that, you know. So then as our relationship developed, and also after a little bit we both had to go to our own countries again, so we were over distance. I really like was for myself like really looking for more from God, you know, and really asking Spirit to, yeah, just to show up, you know, and to start doing things in me. And he really did. And so that was really good because we were apart for half a year. But that year I really needed for just, you know, really my relationship with God, and not it to be my, like, because of Nate or so, and not that Nate did that. It was really just me and God. And then after a year we came together here in the States, and then yeah, we from then we really grow together more and more.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then yeah, and then we got married. Well, after some months. So yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and I think you guys are um, heading towards your first anniversary as a married couple in the next couple of months here, right?
Yeah,
Anniversary?
in a month. Yeah, in a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah,
1 month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much for sharing, Em. I appreciate, sharing your thoughts, your heart about how you met the Lord, how you met Nathan, and to where you're at right now. So it's a big part of what Barbara and I believe is to share testimonies and encounters of how
We
people have that, and we are very big advocate of releasing breakthrough to people's lives and help them to be where they needed to be to a certain degree. So I know you guys are missionaries and you like to go travel. You have a big heart. You have a big calling in the Middle East. So do you mind if you both could share, maybe just in the next couple of minutes here, if you could share about what it looks like to be an evangelist or a missionary? What's the lifestyle for that, especially to those who are new, who are new to that lifestyle?
you can maybe also share like what is a missionary for you. Like, does a person who would like to be a missionary needs to go to a foreign country in order to be a missionary? What is it, and how does it look like to live the lifestyle of a missionaries?
Want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
Or to well, yeah, so I think like the kind of missionaries we're going to be now is way different from what I imagined, because I always thought missionaries go to the poor people of Africa and they give them bread, and with that bread they also say like, well, you know, Jesus, this and that. But the place we're going to is way different, because it's like a very even rich country, and you know, they're not, you cannot easily speak about Jesus. So I think the way for us that we are going to be a missionary is actually the way that everyone can be a missionary in the place where he is himself, because we are just going to this place because we feel called to this place, but this can be like anywhere. We can also live, like I hope we also live here in this same way, and also wherever in the world we live, but just like really living your life with your work or with your study or whatever, and being really intentional in that. So being really intentional in your relationship with God in the first place. So really yeah, just be aware of where you are and who's around you, and then reach out to these people. So yeah, so as like in the past we were students and we studied Arabic when we lived in Oman, and we're gonna do that again, you know. So, and then, you know, I would just pray a lot for my teachers, and like cool things also happened through that. So that's really amazing. So just yeah, I hope we just can be very intentionally about the people around us, and yeah.
That's awesome. I like what you said there. That it doesn't have to be this grand spectrum or image of what it looks like to be a missionary. You don't have to go to South Africa. Although if you're called to be there, then for sure, you know. But you can always be a missionary to your neighbors or even to your coworker to a certain degree. You know, and
Yeah.
I think I like what you said there, just to simplify the very aspect of what it means to create disciples or to just live life to the fullest, where you can actually reflect the Father's love in anyone that you meet. You know,
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing that, Emma.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Do you have
yeah, same for me. To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question, and that may be like probably not the right thing to say. But all I know is that I'm still trying to figure that out too. And
right? Come on.
I was there for 1 year,
Hmm.
and I found it very difficult to find a balance between being very open to people and being very secretive, because and there you really, it's imperative to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit, because sometimes I was with a group of men and I felt the boldness to, when they asked me why are you here, because a lot of them will ask like, why are you here? And obviously you'll get kicked out if you say I'm a missionary, but
Get out of the ground for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes I'm like, I don't like, this is a great opportunity, and so sometimes I felt like the Lord gave me this boldness, and I'm just like, hey, the reason I don't really know why I'm here, except for the fact that an angel appeared to me and said, go to Oman. And some of them, most often than not, most of them found that intriguing, because over there in Islam, it's a very spiritual culture. So for one, they believe in angels,
Very.
and two, they talk about God way more than we in the West do. That's a common topic of conversation.
That's
And
true.
so I'm not outright saying, hey, like I'm this missionary, but I am saying like I still don't know exactly why I'm here. I'm still leading, like I'm still, my father told me to go here, and that's
Come
the
on.
truth, and
Hmm.
what I did find out through my time being there is that, one, you can do, I built relationships, we both built relationships with friends, and that's one way of evangelism, friendship evangelism, say. But there's also found that through much prayer and intercession, the Lord will lead us into times where it's like bam, 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 heal this guy, or like
Come on.
baptize the Holy Spirit over this person. And it's like, it's not one or the other, but it's both, it's like, and and through that, I was only there for a year, but my desire is to look for at least one, for now, one disciple who I can like pour into, and then maybe grow into 2 and 3. But somebody to kind of come alongside me who's Arabic, who can who is a seeker, or somebody who's seen a vision or something of Jesus, who I can kind of, and then he can lead me into how to disciple his people, and then hopefully in that way be able to make friendships with the people and be open to the Lord, just like doing sudden things, as well as
Come on.
long-term things. So yeah.
I like that. I like that. And I always believe that true discipleship is based upon relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just disciple anybody without that actual relationship that you've established with that person.
Yeah.
The same way as how Jesus discipled the 12. He walked with them day by day, you know, every every moment for the past 3 years. He walked
Right.
with them every single day.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's
Yeah.
great, man. And thank you very much for sharing that. I think Barbara's got another question there.
Yes, I didn't have a question, but I have a comment because as you are sharing, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
and I truly love what you just said, that being a missionary doesn't mean that we all have it all together. You know, that we know all the picture, and that humble posture that you just expressed is something, you know, like yummy. I could feel it, and that was so beautiful, you know, kind of like, okay, God, like you gave me a word and I step out of the boat, right? And it's many times that we see just one step ahead of time, and then we are moving and we see the bigger piece of the steps that the Father is inviting us into. So I'm just loving it. And I was thinking about like who is a missionary, right? So I was just thinking about the word missionary, which comes from a mission, or being on a mission, being on an assignment from the Father. But it's many times like this adventure that we just step out of the boat and we are getting to know what is the full mission.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or like those agents, when I think about those movies, action movies, right? That they get a piece, like a part of their job, and then they come to a different country and they get a different piece, what they need to do as the next.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
such a beautiful adventure.
Yeah. That's a really cool analogy. I never thought about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. First thing that came into my mind, James Bond.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm on a mission.
Sometimes it feels
See-
like we're living in like in a world where we have to do that. Like we really have to like, and I probably shouldn't say this, but we have to keep everything secret. You know?
Mhm.
Secret agents, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
We have to.
Be careful.
We can't even say everything right now.
Mhm.
I we're Christian in limits as it is. But like, you know, we're trusting that the Father will cover this in His every protective angel over us. We send to
Yeah.
outsiders
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to get
Yep.
information.
Definitely.
hey, you know, especially when you're on a mission, I believe that anything supernatural things can happen right away. And I've heard stories about people being on a mission and all of a sudden doors are just open right away. And all of a sudden protection is in the midst of it. You know, I've had one story, I think it was Brian Christian. He was telling us a story about how he went to this church, and for whatever reason the pastor couldn't recognize his face. It was weird. So the pastor couldn't recognize his face, and the pastor greeted him and say, "How you doing?" Blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, after that, came back again. It's like, "What are you doing here?" You know, it's like that protection
Oh, right.
allows people to pass through the barriers. You know, with the Holy Spirit, obviously. You know, it's just a strange thing. I've always been like a very advocate of supernatural manifestations, but I've never seen that, and I would love to see that happen in our lives. You know, how the Lord can protect you supernaturally, especially when you're, you know, on the job per se.
Yeah.
You know,
Like how He hid Jesus. Or, what does it mean? You know, when Jesus was hidden.
exactly,
Walk
exactly.
to
Jesus walk
Jerusalem.
through,
You think of
especially if you.
like a physical cloak, like He just like crept through the shadows, like behind every tree. You know, like went up and spoke. You know, but maybe He just
Right,
the Father enclosed Him in this realm.
exactly.
Appeared on the stage. It was like, hey, everyone, I'm the water. Drink from me. You know.
Hmm. That
So
reminded
guys,
me of
we have
Harry Potter.
Yeah, but those things are real. I mean, so like, it wasn't His time, you know, and that's the thing. So the Father, when He's so in step with the Father, then if it's not the Father's time, it's not going to happen one way or another.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we have some more minutes, I think 12 minutes till the end. Is there anything else, guys, that you had burning on your hearts that you wanted to share with us today and with everybody else?
And if you could also, give a word of encouragement for those who are watching us today or tomorrow, wherever you are, whenever, that might encourage people to be in that position of pursuing the Lord in any means.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I think I do. You mentioned something about letting other people know who are maybe interested in missions. But there is anybody who watches this and feels like called to missions or something. Know that you know, like it's not obedience is your best friend. Like if I didn't obey God, I would have not been married right now, you know? I would have not had to. It's not just about like, oh, God will give you your dreams and like, but I would have not been married. What that tells me is that this physical manifestation of a wife is also the manifestation of the ministry will be given to me, and also a people will be given to me as a wife, if that makes sense. Israel was portrayed as a woman many times by God, as the people group, as a country. And so the Lord will give us the Arabian Peninsula. And that's, I'm sure of that. Whether it's in this lifetime or the next, He's already promised it. He will give us those people as our inheritance. So our inheritance is solely based upon our obedience and the obedience to just the simple word of God. So whatever God has told you to do, listen to that. Don't listen to any other word. No matter if anybody prophesies over you, test that, make that prophecy. Don't deny it or look into it, but hear God. And if everyone says to do one thing and God says to do another thing, don't question God. Do what God says and you will be rewarded. And possibly those other things will come to pass as well. But still, those in my life have not come to pass. There's many things in my life that I want to do that I'm still like putting up before God. And it's a hard place to be, to constantly kind of put yourself on the altar of sacrifice. But remember that what happens on a sacrificial altar is probably one of the best freeing things. And with that is that you go up into smoke. Smoke is free. It's up in the air. It's above everything. Smoke is not bound to the restrictions of the body. And so that's what it's like to be on the altar of God. You're free. You're free to blow wherever the wind blows, wherever the breath of the Father blows, you know, and He can stretch you out and you can do many, many more things than when you're just, you know, a calf on the ground. If you're a smoke, you can go anywhere in the world. And so what I'm saying is that, like, be obedient to the word of God. That's my best encouragement.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My like maybe addition to that is, you know, that really gives joy, you know, and that I like kind of felt that God led me through like through my own desires to where I kind of got, and I think He does that too, you know. He's also like, that's also a way of Him to guide people just through what's on your heart, what He puts on your heart. And I think that people often think like, okay, if you're called to be a missionary or to this or that, everything is heavy and hard and complicated. But no, it's, for me, it's just really joyful, and I really see that the life that God is putting ahead of us now is really the only life that I want, and it's really the life I'm excited for. And we have no idea how it's gonna look like in 2 years, not in a year or in a month even, but we don't care. And I'm really just very joyful, and I wouldn't want to have any other life than this. And of course sometimes it is challenging, and it is hard, but then, you know, overcoming that challenge and receiving the reward of God, just which is mostly his love, and you know, and his care for you is just amazing and it's awesome. So I want to encourage everyone to just be joyful in whatever God is doing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Actually, that's a great word, because I was listening to this pastor yesterday, and he says, he quoted First James, and he says, count it all joy. Especially when you're going to the midst of suffering, count it all joy. Doesn't matter where you're going, joy. Don't let any accusers rob you of your joy. So I appreciate you, and I think that's a very encouraging word when you said there, Emma, because a lot of the times when we think about being in a mission, we're going to different places, an evangelist or a missionary, or doing the works of the Father. Yes, there will be some obstacles, and I don't discredit that, and I think it's also important. But what's important is how we perceive it, how we respond rather than reacting. You know, would I let the situation rob me of my eternal joy, or would I access into the spring water, the living waters that flows from our bellies, that promotes love, peace, and joy? You know. So thank you very much, Emma, for sharing that. It was a great testimony, a powerful word, especially for those who are just going through the process of wondering what they want to do and what the Lord is calling them to do, especially if they want to be in mission. You know, so just want to bless you guys. Thank you for sharing. And I think Barbara has something to say here.
Yes, I loved also what you guys shared, especially Emma, when you said and kind of like painted the picture that a lifestyle of a missionary doesn't need to be miserable. And I believe that that can be sometimes a huge block for people to, you know, maybe they were stirred up or they recognized a desire within their hearts, like, oh, maybe I would love to go and be loving on people and go somewhere and give my time. But suddenly, you know, that thinking of like, oh, but what if my life is gonna be so miserable and I don't want that. So I think like even your testimony and being here and embodying it and sharing your experiences can be a huge encouragement for many, that it doesn't need to be miserable. And that's, I believe, what religion sometimes does, you know, that when we are talking about obedience, and even as not wanting to do, you know, something. I remember when once the Lord called me to go to Israel, and I said to him, no way. Like, I don't understand the language. I don't understand the people, the heart of God for Jewish people. Like, I had no idea what is it about. And suddenly the fear of the Lord came upon me. And he asked me if I need to understand in order to obey. And I believe that many times the key is to understand, the key is to obey. And as we obey, the understanding comes. And later on, the Father said to me, am I a reason more than enough for you to go? And I understood that it's not necessarily the people that we are called to, but Jesus is our greatest motivation to go to the ends of the earth. And it is truly loving on Jesus and being the fragrance of worship, of loving onto people, and loving and recognizing Christ in all. Doesn't matter what the race, what the nationality, what is the outlook, sex, you know, the religion, we can find him and love him in all people, that wherever we are at. So thank you so much. Even like being vulnerable, when you said of being kind of like a Jonas, you know, of being called to go somewhere, but then running away from the will of God. And I believe that that's nothing wrong, you know, maybe for people, you know, to encourage those people who might feel like they received the prophetic call, they received the word for their lives. What are they supposed to do? But they are struggling with their with so many obstacles or maybe fear to go after that. And I love the testimony in your life that, Father, it's not about, I have to. I have to. And Father is just taking us to this journey where we are being truthful and honest towards ourselves and towards him, that we don't want to, but as he chases us down, as he pursues us with his love, it enables us to want it as well. And that's that beautiful transformation, that repentance that we turn, but it's the work of love of God within ourselves. So guys, you don't have to feel condemned. You don't have to feel like you are missing your time, because even knowing what you are called to do and not doing it yet is the place where you are supposed to be. Because the Father is working, and you know what guys, like sometimes the greatest work is that transformation within our hearts, and that's the place where we are moving from and are enabled and empowered to pass it on to others and offer it to others. So thank you so much for walking it out and for being empowered and carrying that authority and then offering it to other people as a good news.
Exactly. And this is a little bit of a mystery for say I just like to share, especially for those who are going through that process again of finding, okay, is this the right time, or did I miss the mark, or did I miss the season? I'd like to bring attention there, because if you look at the perspective of who God is eternal. God is eternal. It doesn't matter if it's past, present, or future. He is God. He doesn't change. So my perspective of moving forward is that you cannot miss God because He's everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't miss God. There's no such thing as, oh, I missed the mark, I missed the calling. No, you can't miss an eternal being.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Music.
So yeah, just wanted to share that. And if whoever you are right now who's watching this, and we just wanted to bless you guys for what the Lord is about to do in your life, and let the testimony of these missionaries, these amazing people, fill you with joy, peace, and love, and some encouragement to pursue the deeper things of God, and to let the Holy Spirit lead you to where you need to be in life, whether within your local neighborhood or to the next city or even to the country. Release the breakthroughs and testimonies of what Nathan and Emma had plowed, and many more. There's many amazing missionaries out there who have sparked revival and filled the place with the Spirit of God. And so we just wanted to bless you guys, and we just wanted to thank this amazing couple. Thank you very much, Nathan and Emma. And we'd like to just bless you with everything, with the kingdom of God, and just more joy, more peace in your life, and just strong will and abundance, that the provision, the what you need for your next season will come to pass. That there will be a swift transaction that was going to happen in your life. So we like to bless you guys. So we're just gonna, and if you want to, if you guys want to bless Emma and Nathan in their journey, we can send you the link under the description box, and you can find the details. Obviously, this is very strict confidential information, so we don't really want to give more than just the link. But if you do want to ask questions, we can give you their personal contact where you can ask them in a personal level certain questions. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we lost Michael.
Well,
But we are very thankful, guys, so much for sharing, for setting aside your time, for coming here. And we appreciate you so much. We bless you, and we bless you all who were listening. So wish you a blessed rest of your day, and see you in the next video.
thank you for having
Bye,
us,
guys.
Barbara and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's
You're
awesome.
very welcome.
Privilege to have you interview us. So.
Thank you so much. We bless you and wish you a blessed rest of your day.
Great, thanks. Bless you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.